up, and welcome to 5280 Film Room, Colorado sports podcast by fans for fans. I'm Alyssa.
I'm Gideon.
I'm Miles.
I'm Jordan.
Today we're going to talk a little Colorado Rockies and Denver Broncos. Jumping in first with the Colorado Rockies.
Yes, and we are currently watching a Rockies game as we are doing this, and they're up 7-5 against the Rangers, which is good news. 8-5 now. Oof, that's great news. And we definitely need this win because it has been a very rough 2 weeks. On June 1st, they were 30-26 and in first place in the division. And since then, they've gone 3-9 and they have dropped to fourth place. But they're only 5 games out of the division lead, so luckily we're in a bad division, so we're still in it. And the pitching has been pretty awful lately. I mean, the bullpen this year has a 5.6 ERA, which is dreadful, considering we put a lot of money into Brian Shaw, Wade Davis, and Jake McGee. Those were supposed to be our 7th, 8th, 9th inning guys, and they have just been awful. But luckily, the offense has picked it up. I mean, Arenado's been in a slump. Before tonight's game, he hadn't had a hit since last Friday, so exactly a week ago today. But Story's been killing it lately. Ian Desmond has 2 home runs tonight. Cargo, he's been doing pretty well lately. So the offense has been solid over the last couple
Desmond's homers
weeks.
were really exciting.
I know.
It was so much fun to watch the Rockies finally kind of taking control of a game.
Yeah, he had some pretty swings on those home runs. Like, he made it look easy.
I think it's good we're still on the road right now.
Yeah.
That seems to be our only chance is, hey, can we just play the whole season on the road? Because at home we are worthless so far this season. It's been so backwards and disappointing.
Well, the beginning of our downfall over the last couple of weeks really started with that loss against the Reds.
Oh.
We let them come back. They forced extra innings, and then as soon as that happened, the whole team knew they were going to lose the game. And in fact, they didn't just lose that game. They lost, 4 or 5 after that?
Yeah. Because they got swept by the Diamondbacks and got destroyed by the Diamondbacks. And they're 11-19 at home, which is awful. I mean, traditionally, the Rockies are always a great home team, and they can't figure it out on the road. But they've been excellent on the road this year, but awful at home. So if they could just figure out how to play at their home stadium, then they'll be okay.
And that kind of goes back to our relief pitching, though, too, because our bats are hot. We're able to score runs. Our starting pitchers are getting the job done. But as soon as we get these closers and relief pitchers in there, they're giving up too many runs and letting these other teams claw back.
Yeah. I mean, the bullpen's been a disaster. I mean, Wade Davis in that Red Series, he blew 2 saves, but he pitched in 4 straight games. And it's like, you can't rely on your closer to pitch 4 straight games. But other than him, like, it's been awful. But now we got Ottavino back, and he's bolstering a .95 ERA this season. So him being back should give a boost to the bullpen. Hopefully we'll let the other guys take a little bit of a break because we can put it on his shoulders. Because up until he got injured, he was the best reliever in baseball.
It'll be exciting to see if they throw him in here in tonight's game. It's the top of the 8th right now as we're recording. But, yeah, seeing Ottavino come back and hopefully get us this win, close this out against the Rangers. It'll be a nice change of pace for the Rockies.
I know. Well, Wade Davis, he hasn't pitched, since last week, I think. It's been a few games, so, like, he's fresh. So being our closer, he can come in tonight and he'll be fine. Like, I would imagine it's going to be Ottavino and Davis in the 8th and the 9th inning, which those are our 2 best relievers for sure. Well, the Rangers, they're an awful team. So we should sweep them. But we should have swept the Reds, too.
Exactly. Yeah, when we look just at how we've been doing just the past couple weeks, we got completely swept by the Dodgers the first series of this month. 1-2 on the road against the Red, but then had that horrible loss. Got swept by the Diamondbacks the next series at home. And then we're only able to squeak out 1 win against the Phillies on the road. So even our stamina on the road seems to be wavering and falling. So here's hoping this series against the Rangers, playing, like you said, and like not a great team, and having Ottavino back can be a chance to kind of light the fire again and get some momentum going and just find a tempo again as a team, because they just have felt so out of sync.
Well, if you look at our last two division series against the Dodgers and the Diamondbacks, we got swept in both of those series. And those two teams are the favorites to win the division. So it's like you have to win those series to stand a chance. And to get swept by both those teams, that's awful. Well, in the Diamondback series, the Diamondbacks scored 28 runs in 3 games against us. And that's a lot of the bullpen's fault.
Yeah.
I know.
Well, if Coors Field wants to sell out all of their July 4th festivities for the Rockies games, they're going to have to really rely on Trevor Story, Ian Desmond, and Arenado to keep us afloat and get us some win streaks. And
bring that magic. Like, so much of what makes baseball enjoyable to watch as a fan are those moments where you just really feel that spark and that magic. And it's a special thing to be in those stands and to watch your team have these breakthrough moments. And I feel bad for the fans that have been going to these games and spending their money and their time. Like, going to Coors Field is amazing. It's an incredible place. But it's not cheap when you take into accounting all of the parking and the food, and it's an investment to go as a fan.
And then if the Rockies lose, like, that's not a fun July 4th.
Right.
And they're not just losing at home, they're getting destroyed at home.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it was a good game and it was down to it and it was competitive, but we're just getting absolutely killed. I mean, the scores against the Diamondbacks, that last home series, we lost 9-4, 12-7, and 7-2.
Well, look at the Dodgers series, 11-8, 12-4, 10-7.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Well, when the closest game is 10-7, like, that's the nail biter. That's as good as it's gonna get. Not okay.
One of the past opposing pitchers, like, they used to be afraid to come to Coors Field. It's almost like our pitchers are now afraid to pitch at Coors Field. So there's gonna be a lot of runs. Like, everybody knows that. But it seems like the other team has the confidence coming in because they know they're gonna score runs against our pitching. And our pitching just looks scared at home.
Do you think that confidence is going to get boosted if they win on the road, continue to win on the road, or how do you think they can apply some everyday tactics or practices to make them more confident at home? Because that's a huge issue. If it's confidence that they're worried about pitching at home, then how do you think we can change that?
I mean, it's really on the pitching. They got to get their confidence back somehow, whether it is pitching well on the road so then they feel good coming home. Like, you look at John Gray, he's supposed to be our ace, and his ERA is up over 5.5. And at home, it's like 7 or 8. Like, it's awful. And he has amazing stuff. Like, his talent is off the wall. But he just doesn't look like he's confident. And what he needs to do that, I don't know. I think it's just all mental. Maybe he needs to pitch a few good road games and get his confidence back. That way he can feel good coming into Coors Field.
Or just more experience at Coors Field in general, just to get him more comfortable. Maybe it's going to be a slow acceleration. Hopefully he gets better as the year progresses and he can get, hopefully 12, 15 wins for the season.
Right? I mean, the team's good enough to get him that, and he's got the right stuff. And, I mean, this is his 3rd year, so, I mean, he's still pretty young. Like, he still has a lot to grow. I mean, we all expect him to take that next step right now. Like, he's the oldest starting pitcher that we have, so we want him to be that guy. But it's only his 3rd year, so it's like he still has time to figure it out.
Well, and we keep drafting pitchers, too, so
yeah,
we're just looking for that diamond in the rough to hopefully pull us out and into the light.
Yeah, I mean, we can't sign free agent pitchers because nobody wants to pitch in Colorado, so we got to draft them, and hopefully they stay.
And didn't they officially have the first-round pick under contract now? The pitcher we took, number 22, I believe.
Is that Rollison?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. I didn't see the details of that, but I did see that he's...
Yeah, we tried to
signed.
find the details, and
he's
they're
on the
like,
list.
He's signed. Contract details not provided by MLB.com. Okay.
It's a secret.
Top secret deal. But our next series at home is a 4-game series against the Mets. I have absolutely no idea. Are the Mets good?
They've been pretty bad this year.
Okay, so that's hopeful for me. Like, Rangers on the road, Mets at home. If we just need some momentum. Like, it's just so stalled out right now that if we can take advantage of these next 7 games, it could be all we need to kind of set ourselves up to have a much more successful July and August.
Oh yeah, I mean if we can win 6 out of the next 7, the Diamondbacks and the Dodgers, let's say play 500, then we're right back up there towards the top of the division.
And to some credit to the Rockies as well, they've only played 30 games at home as of today, and this is their 39th game on the road. So they've played 9 more away games than they have at home. So for them to still be over 500 on the road, that gives me some confidence that they can get back to over 500 at home as they start to have more home stands as the season progresses.
Ideally. I mean, I'm kind of leaning towards I wish we could add a few more road games onto the schedule.
Keep the wins coming.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to figure it out at home just because their offense is so good. And, like, our lineup is built to play in Colorado. So we have a lot of power hitters, and that's what Colorado's all about, hitting into the gaps and hitting home runs. If everybody could just get on the same page for a few weeks, then they should tear it up.
More batting practice.
Yes. It's like
already
now that's
good. Get better.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Ottavino's in right now, bottom of the 8th. This is his first game back after the oblique injury.
Yeah.
How serious is an oblique injury?
As a pitcher, pretty serious.
It's got to be pretty debilitating, right?
A lot of your torque and rotation comes from your core, and your obliques are a very large portion of your core.
I kind of thought he'd be out longer because it has to be painful.
It depends on how serious the injury was. If
Yeah.
it was not serious enough to have him out for very long, but serious enough to make them keep an eye on it, it's better to not put stress on that area of the body. And if you got to set out a couple games that you were scheduled for, then we're going to do that because that's going to prevent any worse injury that might occur if he were to pitch through it.
Yeah, because it's better to have him, sit out an extra 5 days than to make the injury worse and have him miss half the season.
Right.
I mean, having him back is going to be huge. Like, here's just a couple stats on him. He's pitched 28 innings. He has an ERA of .95, and he has 45 strikeouts. 45 strikeouts in 28 innings. If you have a 1-to-1 ratio, that's pretty good. He's almost at 2-to-1. He's been incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And not just what he's going to do on the field. I mean, the fact that we can use him and give everybody else a break. Let Brian Shaw and Jake McGee, take some time off, try to figure out what's going on, and get better. Because we put a lot of money into our bullpen, so it should be performing a lot better than it is now.
Absolutely.
And he's been the one staple that's been consistent. Everybody else has been so inconsistent.
Well, it's not over until it's over, so hopefully the Rockies can pull this through and not go into extra innings like they did against the Reds.
Right.
Another terrible team.
Well, and that's when the kind of season it's been. We're sitting here watching the game. We're up 8-5 in the bottom of the 8th, and I know none of us feel confident that we're going to win. Like, we're hopeful we're going to win, but it's not a sure thing. Whereas maybe last season this time we'd be watching this game and going, all right, we're up 3. We got this. It's practically done. And with the way things have been progressing this year, it's still a nail-biter because we tend to fall apart in these final innings.
I think the best part is, even though it sucks to watch our team lose, especially against terrible teams, it still makes the game of baseball exciting to watch. And as a fan, to be interested in the Rockies. Because for so long, the Rockies were just a blip on the radar every once in a while. Yeah, we made it to the World Series in 2007, got swept.
Yeah.
But the Rockies have never been relevant in the realm of serious baseball. And now we finally have a team assembled that we can be a threat to the top of the NL rankings.
Yeah, I mean, people expect the Rockies to make the playoffs this year. That's never really happened in the past.
Brand new.
Even back in
October.
The last 10 years.
Even back in 2007, like they had to win 21 of their last 22 games to even get into a play-in game to make the playoffs. And it just happened so quick that in 2008, like I wasn't like, yeah, of course they're going to make the playoffs again. Like they had a really good 3-week stretch. Yeah. They played really well for like 4 weeks, and that was pretty much it.
That's how you make the World Series.
Right, exactly. But this year, I expect them to make the playoffs, and if they don't, it's going to be a huge disappointment.
For sure, yeah.
In the past, if they could just, win 81 games, just get to 500, then I would be happy. That's not a playoff team. But, yeah, this year they have a great team. They just haven't really put it together yet.
Let's just all be grateful that there is baseball, because as 4 diehard football-loving human beings, we're in the worst time of year. It is
even
the
hockey's
dead
over.
time. Hockey's over. Basketball is over. And the Denver Broncos just had their last day of mandatory minicamp yesterday. We have 42 days until training camp starts. Like, we are in the lull, but no matter what, we can find things to talk about when it comes to the Denver Broncos. And I don't know, when it's this time of year, I'm always just hoping nobody gets arrested or does anything really stupid during
Shoots
this
himself in the
downtime.
leg.
The stupidest thing that happened probably was Vaughn losing a bet.
Yeah, that.
Vaughn's
leg.
not one to really lose bets, and to see him with his Rick James wig on was pretty entertaining and good way to finish out minicamp, I guess.
I just want to know what the bet was, though.
We'll
You
never
wouldn't tell
know.
us.
No, we'll never know. But I also love Vaughn so much, because here he is, he lost the bet and he has to wear the wig, but even in the press conference he's just like having a great time with it. And I'm sure the other guys are like, man, he lost the bet, he's supposed to be grumpy, he's supposed to be annoyed about it, and he's just like in character, living it up, cracking jokes, because that's who Vaughn is. And I feel like having a different energy, I feel like, at Dove Valley this year, just from everything that I've kind of sensed from different interviews with players and at the podium, just feels different. And it feels like they're having fun, which was something that was lacking last season. There just wasn't that feeling of community.
Even the rookie class this year says that they're very close-knit with each other. They are
Awesome.
really keeping each other in check as well as building each other up, rather than trying to fight and claw for a single position. Now, each individual player is definitely still fighting as hard as he can to get that starting role, but they also realize the men that they're competing against are their teammates, and if one's going to be better than the other, then you need to make him work harder to make him the best that he can be. And it's exciting to see not just our veterans coming together and creating the environment for this quality team chemistry. It's good to see the rookies falling in line and following the example to rounding this team out and allowing us to not let anything shake us when we hit that early season drama that always happens.
Right, absolutely. And Vance Joseph was asked, I think it was yesterday, how he's grown and what he learned from last year and et cetera, et cetera. And he was like, I learned that when things don't go right, I have to fix them quicker. Like, let's not pretend this upcoming 2018 season is going to be a cakewalk. Let's not pretend it's going to be easy. Things are going to go wrong. Things are going to be difficult. And when that happens, it's my job to fix them quicker. And I feel like that mentality that he has is being implemented across the board. And that accountability is there of like, this isn't going to be easy. It's not going to be flawless. There's going to be difficult times. And we have to pull each other up. And we have to, as cliche as it is, iron sharpens iron. Holding each other accountable. So,
I mean, how do you sharpen your knives in the kitchen?
Jordan does
With
that.
iron. Of course. Yeah, Vance Joseph, he feels like he's taking a much different approach. Like, it seems like there's much more structure, and he just seems like he's taking more command of the team. Which, last year was his first year coaching, so, he was learning what he was supposed to do.
He was trying to be too much of a friend.
Yes.
Last year. He's like, I can connect with you guys. And this year, he kind of learned his lesson. He's like, all right, you can't get too close. You are the coach, and you are in charge.
I feel even more than with the players this year, it's with his coaches. I feel like last year he was brought into a pretty established group of assistant coaches. And a lot of that has been completely wiped clean, start from scratch. And I think that on top of being that way with players, he's letting his coaches know, like, hey, you work for me. This is the plan. This is what we're doing. You need to do your job. And I'm hoping it pays off. I really am. I feel so good about this season, but
we always do it this time of
always
year,
do.
though.
It's great to be optimistic in June.
Like Vaughn said that he thought they were going to win the Super Bowl last year at this time. And we all know how that went.
everyone thought the AFC West was going to be monsters.
Yeah, right?
That didn't turn out to be true.
No.
Chargers were better than everyone thought.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure.
But that's why we actually signed DeMarcus Ware to a part-time consulting contract for him to coach our defensive rushers through this season, and hopefully we can get some sacks like the Chargers were getting against us last year.
Which I think will be huge, having a Hall of Fame player that played for the Broncos as a coach. I mean, just the amount of respect that he's going to get from the pass rushers. Like, I think it's going to be huge having him on the coaching staff. What kind of role he's going to play and how much he's going to do, I don't know. But, I mean, it's definitely going to help the team having him here.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, I don't know. I like that DeMarcus doesn't have any connection to Vance. Like, Vance wasn't around when DeMarcus was here. And I think a lot of coaches might feel a little threatened by having someone like DeMarcus be a part of their coaching team.
His personality is completely
He
different
is just
than a
like,
standard monster defenseman.
right.
Like, he's actually very kind-hearted and he's a good character, and so I'm sure when he sat down with Vance Joseph, this guy was like, oh, he wants to help us out as much
This
as
is
he
the
can.
nicest
Like,
guy
yeah.
ever. Please come work with us.
Right.
He is like just a big, sweet teddy bear type of guy who will rip you apart on the football field. Like, that's what you want, is a guy that can be like a great leader and a good teacher and patient enough when he needs to be, but will also help, especially get, Bradley Chubb and always Vaughn, of course. Their bond is pretty unique and special. Vaughn was saying having him back makes him feel like he's training for like a title fight. He's like, yeah, they knew like my big bout's coming up and they had to bring in the best coach to help get me ready for my fight. And I was like, hell yeah, Vaughn.
This could be one of Von Miller's most important seasons of his career. Like, yeah, he
Absolutely
got Super Bowl MVP when we won against the Carolina Panthers. And even his rookie season, he did really well. But now that he's established himself as an elite defender, people have their eye out for him, as we saw last year with his 57 tackles and only 10 sacks across the season with minimal to no injuries. I think Vaughn's looking to bounce back really hard and try to get, closer to maybe 15, 16, or hopefully 20 sacks.
Oh,
That'd be amazing.
knock on wood.
One with Chubb on the other side, that should help
I
Vaughn.
know.
I mean, if he performs the way that we expect him to perform, you can't double team both of them. And if you do, somebody else is going to be right there in the quarterback's face.
And we have enough somebody else's that it could be an absolutely lethal combination for any offense we face.
Yeah.
The pieces are definitely there on the line, but it's going to be interesting to see our new young DBs in the no-fly zone, the redubbed no-fly zone. So now that Talib's down in Los Angeles with the Rams, it's going to be interesting to see if the no-fly zone left with Talib or if it's here to stay.
Right? I don't know. Part of me wants it to be... I obviously want the talent and the magic and the holy crap, knocking people out thing here to stay. But part of me thinks they need a new name for this. Like, this is a fresh, new thing. And I love Keith Sleep. He's a great player when you're winning. When you're doing great, he's the guy you want in your locker room. He gets everybody pumped up. But we saw last year that when things are not going well and it's rough and you're losing, he's a bit toxic when it comes to the locker room and the energy.
He pokes people's eyes and spits in their face. And
pulling chains.
sure, he
Right,
kicks
breaker
them in the
chains.
balls when the fumble's going, too. Like, he shot himself in the club. This dude.
That's all you gotta know. He literally shot himself.
Oh, Keith.
To get out of training camp.
At least he's back with Wade Phillips. If there's anyone in the NFL who can...
Keep him in check.
Well, and just, gets him. I don't even know. Wade Phillips is just a magically weird man. He just seems to understand the psychology of these really intense players, these huge personalities. And he just dials into them to the point where they seem genuinely, concerned with maintaining his respect and being on his good side and in his good graces, so.
When he's been in the
We'll
league
see.
forever.
Yeah.
He's just a wise old man.
He's so funny, too.
Seen it all.
I love
Coached
him.
it all.
Yeah.
I love him.
He keeps his defenses basic, which I love. It's really, if you can cover the other team's two main wide receivers, then everything else will just kind of play out the way it's supposed to be.
And if you can't, get good, son.
Yeah. I mean, why do you think they have Marcus Peters and Talib now? I'm sure Ward was like, this is how my defense... Or Ward.
Wade.
This is how my defense works. I need 2 stud cornerbacks, and everything else will just fall into place.
Yeah, coaching can change everything. And I think 2 of the biggest coaching changes this year will be... The things we'll see on the field that will make a difference are change at wide receiver coach and running backs coach. We had Tyke Tolbert and Eric Studesville for a long time. A really long time. Eric was here from 2010. Tyke was here from 2011. And now both of those coaching positions have been switched up. And let me see it. Running backs, we got Curtis Modkins, and at wide receiver, Zach Azani. No idea if I'm saying that right. But they were asking Emmanuel Sanders how it was going, and he commented that, like, him and the new coach were butting heads a little bit, and we're kind of having to work through that. And I'm a huge Emmanuel Sanders fan. He's one of my favorite players ever. But he needs someone to help keep him in line, because he can get he can get a giant diva mentality and just kind of get to this place where he thinks that he doesn't have to work hard anymore. And this is the NFL. Like, you never get to feel comfortable. And if you are feeling comfortable, you're not doing your job right. And he mentioned that the new coach, Azani, keeps telling him, you can get better. You know that, right? And, like, kind of challenging him. And I think that's really important, especially when we take into consideration we got 2 new kids on the block in the wide receiver position who apparently have been shining quite bright in this mini camp. Got Sutton and Hamilton. And what were you saying, Gid? Sutton is really similar to DT and Hamilton similar to Sanders, just kind of in style.
Yeah, it'll be good to have, our veterans get pushed. I mean, Von Miller got his grasshopper with Bradley Chubb, but I think hopefully that DT and Emmanuel Sanders won't just look at this as an opportunity to coach some new kids, but to actually still be pushed, because these are 2 very talented receivers that are very capable of pushing Sanders and Thomas to being the best that they can be. Not just because they're talented receivers that they'll take their jobs from DT and Sanders,
Right.
but they'll be an additional threat on the field to take off some double teams that Sanders and DT have to face sometimes, because we've never had a good tight end. Hopefully that'll change with Jake Butt finally healthy, but having Sutton and Hamilton there is going to be significant since we lost Cody Latimer and Benny Fowler, right?
Yeah, both of them are gone. And I wonder, like, I kind of had in my head that if we were going to have a solid third wide receiver, it could be Jordan Taylor, but he's going to be starting training camp at least on the PUP list from another hip, I think it was a hip surgery. So no telling kind of how his story is going to pan out throughout training camp and the beginning of the season.
Well, they just haven't really given him much playing time over the last couple of years. I don't know why. They know something that we don't, because whenever he's on the field, like, he's always making plays. But they just don't give him the opportunity for whatever reason. I mean, I just hope one of these guys, whether it's Butt, Sutland, or Hamilton, can step up as a third receiving option. So we can't just rely on Sanders and DT all the time. So I mean, it's been a few years, really, since Wes Welker, that we had a third receiving option that we could consistently rely on.
And the last time we had a tight end that was really a playmaker was Julius Thomas. Is that right?
Essentially.
Yeah, that was really, truly a playmaker.
I miss Julius now. Never thought I would say that.
He wasn't a playmaker. Peyton Manning made him a playmaker.
Now,
That was the year that Peyton Manning broke the record for passing touchdowns in a season.
Yes, wasn't
Tua passed to Julius Thomas.
Yo.
In Houston.
Oh no, we weren't at that game. I was about to say we were at that game. We were not in Houston.
We're at the game before when we were hoping he would break it.
Oh.
Missed it by that much.
I know.
Gotta be quicker than that.
I know.
So, running backs, what do you guys think there? How are things looking?
Everyone seemed really excited that I talked to about us having Devontae Booker, and then last season was really disappointing. So now the news coming out of minicamp is that Royce Freeman has been taking first team snaps with everyone else kind of sitting behind him, and it's pretty cool to see that this guy who was a workhorse in college is definitely got the capabilities to bring that fire and take over the starting role for the Broncos.
Yeah, and with CJ not with Broncos anymore, the door is wide open for anybody to take that starting role. And I think it'll be Freeman. I mean, I'm not a huge believer in Booker. I think he's a great third down running back, just as far as his blocking skills and his receiving skills. But as a pure runner, he's still pretty young, so he could be good, but I haven't seen that from him yet. He doesn't really hit the hole very hard. So I'm excited to see Freeman.
Last year at training camp, I was all about D'Angelo Henderson. And then they didn't really use him much during the season. But he's still in the mix. But I haven't heard much about him over the past couple weeks.
Well, we were very one-sided last year.
Yeah.
And that was defense. Our offense was not there. It was non-existent. No one knew who our starting quarterback was. Nobody even knew who our starting running backs were. We probably were going to give up a fumble on special teams. So
or 10.
when you're going to be negative on the turnover ratio for the season, you don't win games, you don't make the playoffs, and you're certainly not going to have a chance of winning a Super Bowl. But now having Case Keenum, who's got a fantastic touchdown to interception ratio, playing for the Vikings last year, he showed that he doesn't actually need all that many threats. I know we were talking about it's nice having some stress taken off of DT and Emmanuel Sanders' shoulders, but Case Keenum has shown that he can be successful with just 2 or 3 options, including what's in his backfield.
Yeah, and I feel like a big part of why there seems to be this shift in energy this year is because we're not going through some stupid bullshit quarterback competition that's literally taking up all of the time and all of the energy. There's no way to get a rhythm. There's no way to establish a rapport, because last season, it was just stupid. It was such a waste. And so this year to have Case, and not only is he named the starter, but like apparently from everything that we're hearing from players, he is taking this job and like just running with it and is taking control of the huddle, is taking a huge leadership role off the field as well, just like organizing different outings and events and taking the time to build the relationship with his teammates and build that sense of community. Garrett Bowles was talking about how his wife Kim will get all the wives together, and so it's going far beyond the football field in terms of what he's doing, and with the help of his wife Kim, to build a strong sense of unity as a team.
Yeah, we got Victory Waffles upcoming.
Oh my god, we gotta get some Victory Waffles, guys. If you don't know about Victory Waffles, you gotta watch Hard Knocks. We learned about Victory Waffles when Case Keenum played for the St. Louis Rams. And tradition started. I know. I had to think about it. Did you hear me pause? It was like the St. Louis Rams. It's amazing that transition's easy. Like, I can easily remember LA Chargers, but I say San Diego Chargers literally every other time I talk about it. But anyway, when he was with the Rams, they got a big win, and him and Kim made Victory Waffles for the whole team. And that tradition carried on to Minnesota, and they kept making Victory Waffles. So here they are now, Mr. and Mrs. Keenum. We got to get some wins so our boys can get some waffles.
It's just so nice knowing who our quarterback is going to be.
So
I mean,
nice.
As a fan, I feel less stressed. Like, I can't imagine how the team actually feels about it.
I'm sure John Elway's sleeping much better.
Yeah. I mean, we had 3 starting quarterbacks last year. I don't know who was the best one. There were times where Osweiler looked good, Lynch looked good in flashes, Simeon looked pretty good. But, like, just knowing who our quarterback's going to be, and we're going to stick with him all season unless he gets hurt or there's just a complete disaster. Like, we know. And he was great last year. Like, I have so much confidence in him.
Yeah, I know there was some skepticism if it was just a one-hit wonder kind of year. Most of my extended family lives in Minnesota, so I have a lot of Vikings fans in my life. They were pissed when we got Case. And I know that's just fans, fans talking to fans, but that made me happy.
But they also got Kirk.
Yeah, how do they feel about Kirk?
So they're set.
I don't know, though.
Yeah.
Okay, well, obviously this is just other fans' opinions, but they're happy to have Kirk, but skeptical as to like why spend all the money when we had Case.
Yeah, $90 million guaranteed over 3 years.
Yeah.
That's a shit ton of money. We'll see if it's worth it. And we got Case for, I think it was $28 million over 2 years. I mean, for how much we paid for him, it's definitely going to be worth it.
And I like the structure of the contract too, to make sure that he proves himself. I mean, not that he hasn't proved himself,
With this team.
but with this team, with a new environment and up and coming. Because I mean, how much full game time in good rhythm has he had before Minnesota?
Very little.
Yeah, and just the fact that he doesn't turn the ball over. Because last year,
That's
between
huge.
all of our quarterbacks, we had 22 turnovers between interceptions and fumbles. I don't see Case even getting close to that.
And
If he can
probably
stay-
what 24 lost.
Yeah, exactly.
I think prove it deals also lead to better play. And a lot of times when players get that big payout, we saw it with Brandon McManus last year. He got that huge pay increase and like shit the bed. Like really struggled for a while there to get back in his rhythm. And I feel like there's a lot of psychology that goes into it. And I think when you're really having to prove yourself and you have a prove it deal, you play better.
Yeah.
Produce more.
And look at Jamarcus Russell. He got that big contract, and he was awful.
Vince Young.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah, that dude went to prison.
Vince?
Oh, I thought you said, never mind.
Hernandez.
Vince Young.
What?
Never mind. I was getting confused with Michael Vick. Man.
Close.
You are all
Almost.
over the
Close.
place.
Wow.
Close.
Not even.
They're both mobile quarterbacks.
Right?
There's a
Boom.
V in
So
their
there's
names.
that.
There's your through line.
They're drafted like 10 years apart. So.
Yeah.
Do we want to talk just a little general NFL?
Sorry, Vince Young. Did not go. Really apologize. That's incorrect.
Yeah, let's talk about some general NFL.
We got some good holdouts going on this time of year. Like several, actually.
Everyone knew Le'Veon Bell was going to hold out.
Yeah.
That man
Didn't
just
he do that
wants a
last year,
monster
too?
Contract.
You know, but I also feel like he's fighting for the position. I really do. I feel like he's fighting for
The
running backs as a
Yeah,
whole.
he's standing up for the position.
Just
and
set a
he's just,
standard.
hey, we deserve more. And
He
I
deserves
commend him.
more.
Yeah,
He
exactly.
deserves more.
For
David
sure.
Johnson
But he's
deserves
also-
more.
yeah.
Absolutely.
He
set
set
Another
a
what?
holdout.
precedent for a new baseline of running back salaries because 10 years ago it was unheard of paying your running back $10 million. Like you had Ray Rice, he was commanding like 10, 12, along with Adrian Peterson, Chris Johnson. Those guys were getting money, but they were also putting up huge numbers during the seasons that they were in contract years. But now you're getting guys that are wanting $8 to $10 million just because they're back there, and they're not fumbling, which is great, but they can also be better. Now Le'Veon Bell, he's definitely the outlier. He's a great receiver, he's a great running back, and I'm sure if you put him on defense, if you wanted to, he's going to make some killer hits. But he's proven to the Steelers, in my opinion, that he deserves definitely closer to $20 million because they have him doing everything. He's one of the first running backs to get, I believe it's 100 rushes in a season with 100 receptions.
Wow.
Or no, not 100 rushes, but 100 receptions alongside of being, maybe it's 1,000-yard rushing with 100 yards receiving, I believe.
I think Jordan's Googling it for us.
I'm pretty sure Le'Veon's had one game with more than 100 yards receiving.
No, 100
Probably.
receptions.
Oh, okay.
Catches.
Receptions, not yards receiving.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
That'd be nuts. I mean,
And
that's
he's only 26 years old. Because I know he's
Wow.
searching
Oh,
for
yeah.
that.
Young.
I know he's searching for that long-term deal. But I mean, running backs, they have such a short career. Just seems like the Steelers don't want to commit to a 4 or 5 year deal with him.
Unless he's like the LeBron James of the NFL and can be like, I will take us to the Super Bowl. Like, unless he can say that, I don't think he's going to get, the $30 million that he's looking for.
And it just seems like there's so many good running backs out there. Like, Le'Veon Bell, he is special. He is amazing. But I feel like replacing the running back position is a lot easier than replacing a quarterback or an offensive lineman or a pass rusher. Like, it just seems like you can find a running back to do what you need to get done. So that's why the running backs don't make the high dollars. But I mean, I'm glad that Le'Veon and David Johnson are holding out, taking a stance for their position.
And they're very talented athletes that do deserve a higher salary than what they're currently getting paid. So they're doing the right thing for themselves and for their longevity as well. They're one of the hardest damaged players on a football squad.
Absolutely.
That's why it's so easy to replace them, because running backs are a dime a dozen, and you got a bunch of dudes that are willing to go take the rock and put their head down. And, it's not always that healthy to put your head down and be mashing your head against all these other players going at full speed. And so with Le'Veon and David Johnson kind of protecting themselves, getting some guaranteed money and making sure that they can still be healthy beyond their football years.
Exactly. And they're good enough that they can hold out. If, say, like a C.J. Anderson or a Jonathan Stewart held out, that wouldn't do anything. But, like, these guys, they're making a stance, and they're going to get paid, whether it's by their team or a different
They're
team.
still working out.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Not like they're sitting on their couch eating Cheetos.
No. I hope not. That's what Eddie Lacy did.
Cheeseburger, Eddie.
Cheeseburger. Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah, the other kind of notable holdouts, we've got Aaron Donald, Julio Jones, Khalil Mack, Earl Thomas, and Taylor Lewan. Of those three big defensive guys, obviously Julio, wide receiver, and our one offensive tackle holding out, Taylor Lewan. But I definitely think the most interesting to watch will be Bell and Johnson fighting for that running back standard.
Not worried about
Raised.
Julio Jones? Is he a Falcon for life?
Yeah. I mean, his
is.
contract, he's still in the top 5 paid wide receivers. So, like, he has a huge contract right now, but he wants to be the top guy.
I mean, after his last season, he doesn't have much firepower, like, say, Le'Veon Bell.
Yeah.
He was shut down. Matt Ryan is a great quarterback and has shown that he's capable of taking the team to the next level. But I think everyone's kind of figured out how to defend Julio Jones. And
Still
I think
pretty
that
hard,
makes
though.
his job... Well, no,
Yeah.
it's not easy. But they've figured out how to defend him and limit him to, not 2-3 touchdowns a game.
Yeah.
Now that only happens like every other week or so.
Because who's their biggest, or their second biggest receiving threat?
Probably Devontae Freeman.
Yeah, so it's like you can double Julio on every play, and you'll
True.
be okay. Well, what's funny about Julio's contract is when he signed his contract a couple years ago, he signed a contract that made him the highest paid wide receiver. It's like he got the contract he wanted. And I think in a situation like this, he should just play out his contract and then sign a new one. It's not like he's getting underpaid, in my opinion. 'Cause he's still in the top 5 in wide receivers.
Well, hopefully he'll come to his senses and get to training camp so he doesn't get fined and then
Yeah.
be back to work for summer camp.
Right.
I mean, he is probably the best player on the Falcons.
I think so, yeah.
So I can see why he wants to get more money. Because, I mean, without him, the Falcons, they would not be nearly as good.
Sanu's not a Julio Jones. He's talented. He's
For sure.
a well-respected receiver, but Julio Jones is in a world of his own, and that dude, the only other guy close to him, in my opinion, was Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
And so now that Calvin Johnson's out of the league, it's like, who else makes catches like Julio is capable of? Like OBJ's coming off an ankle injury. Is he going to be the same?
That's true. I mean, just with how fast Julio is and how big he is, it's remarkable.
We also, in this offseason, we had some bromances die, you guys. Like, some pretty solid bromances have been torn apart. Chris Harris and Aqib Talib are no more. Alex Smith and Travis Kelce. But most notably, Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson.
It's a sad day.
Well, I drafted Travis Kelce pretty high up. I believe 2nd round in our fantasy football league last year.
Yep.
And I only took 2nd, unfortunately. But Kelsey was a huge force on my team because he was consistent, and that goes to the consistency of Alex Smith.
Right, so if we're looking at this, like, okay, if we really just look at it from a fantasy football perspective, what does this mean for Travis Kelce now that he's getting the ball from Patrick Mahomes? What does this mean for Jordy Nelson now that he's getting the ball from Derek Carr? Derek Carr is a great quarterback, but how much of Jordy's magic was because of him and Aaron?
Well, Aaron Rodgers is just so good.
He's so good.
I mean, Derek Carr, he's a really good quarterback, but going from Aaron Rodgers to Derek Carr, that's like...
Well, especially when, like, you are Aaron Rodgers' guy. Like, you are his favorite target and, like, one of his best friends. Like, they had a whole otherworldly connection, and now I don't know. I can see Jordy's production falling off hard.
The Raiders aren't anything special. I don't think it's gonna compute with
Gruden's gonna
Nelson
sleep in
and Carr.
Save the day.
Nelson and Rodgers had a very special relationship that very few quarterback-receiver combos have. I mean, you've got Tom Brady and Gronk. He's a tight end, but he might as well just be a giant monster wide receiver.
Yeah. He doesn't fit in the category.
I mean, offensive lineman, wide receiver hybrid.
Even Tom Brady and Randy Moss didn't have the chemistry that Gronk has with Tom Brady.
Right.
But when you take away a quarterback's career receiver like Rodgers had with Nelson, I think that kind of shakes things up with both of them. Now, Rodgers still has Randall Cobb to throw to, who's very consistent. But losing Jordy Nelson, even though he had a lot of concussions last year, I think the biggest part that they're going to miss is his voice in the locker room and his kind of fire that he brought to the team. And now that he's with Oakland, I don't think that fire is going to be there anymore. And, I mean, he's still there to do a job and to catch some footballs, score some touchdowns. But Derek Carr is going to have a rude awakening in the AFC West this year with the Chargers and the Broncos.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I same kind of similar thing. Like, Kelsey and Smith were just good at their job together. I don't feel like they had quite the same kind of bromance by any means as Rodgers and Nelson. But I don't know what to think about Patrick Mahomes. I have no idea. I saw him in an interview for the first time earlier this week on Good Morning Football and was, like, drastically underwhelmed.
Really?
I don't know why I thought, like, you hear so much about him, and I was like, okay, who is this guy? Who is this kid? And like, was just, like, the most stock, boring, like, press-ready answers. And I was like, who are you?
He's been coached.
Like, but you can't,
but not in football.
I'm so glad your media relations specialist is doing a great job. But I'm like, who are you? Like, to be an NFL quarterback, you've got to have an identity. Like, you have to be a presence. You can't just be a guy. And he felt like a guy to me.
If you're not going to be the leader of the team, then you're not going to be there for very long. It's been since the dawn of football that the quarterback is the captain, or should be the captain, should be the leading voice of the team and also leading them to victory. Now, there's plenty of teams that have leaders on the defense and are exceptional at their jobs. You look at, Ray Lewis. You got Troy Polamalu. Von Miller is another defensive large voice that can be considered the captain of the team. J.J. Watt, definitely the leader of the Texans.
Yeah,
but that quarterback is the anchor.
But, I mean, Patrick Mahomes, he found out he was going to be the starter, 2 months ago?
Yeah, this dude doesn't know what he's in for.
He's still trying to, figure out,
Jordan's like, be nice. Yeah, right.
He's like, I'm in the NFL? Whoa.
Yay.
I mean, he's got the talent. He's only played in one game, so we have no idea, which kind of scares me because we don't really know what type of quarterback he is.
That's true. He could just come out of nowhere and be terrifying and light it up, but I'm not worried about that,
Baker
to be honest.
Mayfield has a better chance.
Yeah, we do have some fun stuff with our rookie QBs. We got Baker Mayfield with the Browns, Sam Darnold with the Jets. Mm-hmm. Lamar Jackson took all the snaps with the ones at the last day of minicamp with the Ravens yesterday.
I think they're just giving Joe Flacco a little break. It's the last day.
See what the young
I
gun
don't
can
want
do.
it to be that. Like, I want Lamar Jackson to, like, I don't know. I really liked him, and I thought he was taken far too low in the draft. I would love nothing more than for him at, pick 30?
32. He was the last pick in the first round.
To be the rookie that, lights it up.
Well, if I was a Ravens fan, I would be over Joe Flacco. I think they're making that transition. I mean, I
It's
think
time.
Yeah, I don't think the Ravens are going to be too good this year, so I think we will see Jackson by the end of the year, and the Flacco era might be over.
It's been a long era.
I know.
Probably fresh up for something new
I know.
in Baltimore.
He had a really good 2-month period and won the Super Bowl, and then got huge contracts.
Man got paid.
That's all it
know,
takes,
right?
right? Man got paid.
Right? I mean, good for him, but
Set the record for quarterback salary at that time.
Yeah.
And then along came Matt Stafford. And then so on and so forth until we have today with these monster
They're
guaranteed.
insane.
I know.
Yeah.
There was the
Yearly
whole
bills.
Raheem Moore incident during all that. Remember in the playoffs? When we were playing the Ravens, we lost to him,
Yeah.
and the bomb went over Raheem's head.
Yep. He's still committed too soon.
I know. You're welcome, Joe Flacco.
That was a Super Bowl.
We
year
helped
for
you
the
get that
Broncos.
contract.
Totally buying into the NFL rumor mill. Apparently, they were shopping Gronk around, and Tom Brady threatened to retire if Gronk were to leave the Patriots. I have no idea how much validity there is to that. But I think it's safe to say that rumor, in addition to the 10 other crazy things that have happened, there's trouble in paradise. The empire may in fact be falling.
I think it is. Tom Brady's more of a diva than his wife. I think he definitely...
Giselle's the grounded one.
I think he definitely stepped into Robert Kraft's office and said, hey, if there's any truth to Gronk getting shopped around, you're damn straight I'm going to retire. There's no way Tom Brady would be as good without Gronk. Tom Brady is an exceptional quarterback. He's the greatest of all time, if you will, for
Blah, blah, blah.
NFL. I don't want to buy into it, but it's true.
It's hard not to.
He's
you
a great
can't.
quarterback. He
He's
gets
great.
lots of touchdowns, and he's got lots of Super Bowls, and there's just nothing you can take away from that. Now, he also has great ownership and great coaching that's led him the entire way. But I think it's good for him to stand up for his tight end and his go-to receiver. Because without Gronk, even an injured Gronk, they won more games with Gronk injured than they did with Gronk on the field. So I mean,
Well, the Patriots are still better with Gronk.
Obviously.
they're still better
But
with
yeah.
Gronk.
I think it's interesting that it's becoming pretty clear that when push comes to shove, Kraft is on Team Brady, not Team Belichick.
Oh yeah,
That's
I mean
for
they
sure.
traded Garoppolo.
And I think it's got to be messing with his evil genius little mind. He is probably the smartest mind in football, possibly ever, to coach this game. And Tom Brady's got the trump card on him. Oh, that's got to piss him off. That pissed me off so bad.
Well, they have Josh McDaniels just waiting to be the head coach. They don't have somebody behind Brady.
I hope he becomes the head
I'm
coach.
staying with the
I hope
Pats.
McDaniels becomes the head coach of the Patriots and drives them into the ground like he did the Broncos.
That would
Well,
be the
amazing.
sweetest
I mean-
vengeance.
I mean, look at Belichick. His first coaching job was with the Browns, and he was awful his first season.
Yeah.
Look at him now.
The Browns have been awful for decades.
Yeah.
It's not Belichick's
We can't
fault.
pin that on Belichick.
Don't blame him.
Yeah, we'll see though. I mean, they have been the dynasty for so long, and
15 years. Brady's gonna play till he's 45.
something's
So
going down. Yeah, how old
So
is
five
he now?
years.
41?
40.
40?
Yeah, he's right.
5 more years of terror or greatness. however
Pretty
you
sure
look
that
at it.
dude's a vampire.
That's it. You cracked the code. Does he glisten?
It's the avocado ice cream. That's what's doing it.
Sounds so gross.
I know, right?
TB12.
I kind of want to read that book just to see what's in there.
I mean, we probably should just for research.
Right.
So if anyone wants to send us a TB12 book from Amazon, we'd be more than happy to take a look at it because we sure as hell aren't going to spend our own money on it.
Or you know what I would like even better? If you would like to email us your own synopsis dissertation of the TB12 book, I'd probably find that far more interesting.
Yeah, I don't like to
I
read.
need a perspective. Well, thank you guys so much for listening in. Once again, this is 5280 Film Room, and we'd love to hear from you if you have any questions, comments, concerns, random crap you'd love to hear us talk about. You can reach us at 5280filmroom@gmail.com. We're excited to keep doing this and get to know you guys and let you guys get to know us. So we will hit you guys up next week. See you later.
Peace.